Hey everyone and welcome! In today's video I will give you a complete guide to Battlefield Portal and how you can create your own Battlefield experience. The more extended rules editor won't be part of this guide as this needs a bit more time to explain and would double or even triple the length of this video. But I will go through everything you need to realize most of your ideas and how you can set up a server with your own creations. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this. Portal is the mode with which you can build your very own Battlefield experience and share it with others or play the ideas of others. It comes with 6 classic maps, more than 40 weapons, over 40 vehicles, 30 plus gadgets and 7 factions and their classes from Battlefield 1942, Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. In addition, all maps, specialists, weapons, gadgets, vehicles and elements from Battlefield 2042 are available as well. All of the classic maps have been built from the ground up again with a new Frostbite engine and feature reworked visuals and updated destruction models. There will always be a changing rotation of featured games available in the start menu of Portal and also a wide variety of games that have been created by the community. With this mode you can basically do anything. Let World War II soldiers fight against a modern army or create a knife versus defibrillator mode and so on. The only thing you won't be able to create, at least according to the developers, is a Battle Royale mode. If you like games of other creators, you can also follow them to keep track of when they're running new matches, and as a creator yourself, you can share your games with others through a share code and also give them permission to build upon your experience with their own settings and rules. The most creative and popular creations are featured in official playlists to make it easier for players to find fun matches. But first of all, you need to create a new experience and fire it up on a server. When you go to the Portal mode in Battlefield 2042, you won't find any option to create a game, simply because there is none. Within the game, you can only start new servers or join existing games, but you can't create them. To do this, you need to use your PC, tablet or mobile phone and go to portal.battlefield.com. After logging in with your EA account, you get access to an interface where you can either create a completely new experience from scratch or start with a mode or era template. You can even use this to create games if you don't own Battlefield 2042. The only thing you need is an EA account. Then you can send it with a share code to a friend who owns the game and they can fire it up on a server. But more about that later. With a mode template, the settings for the specific mode like Conquest or Rush are set by default already, and with an era template, the teams, weapons and maps of the old games are set by default. With Create Something New, you start from scratch, with no options set or maps added to the rotation. But no matter how you start, if with a template or without, you will always be able to change all options and fully customize your game. First, you choose the core parts of your game, such as game mode, map rotation and game mode details. You can jump between the different tabs at any time in case you want to do some changes to former settings. The only thing you should know is, if you jump back and change the game mode, you will have to set up the complete experience again, as all settings will get set back to default. The available game modes are Rush, Conquest, Conquest Large, Team Deathmatch and Free for All, and by choosing one of these modes you already set some basic rules for the game that you can't change with the normal modifiers. Note that Conquest Large is the 128 player experience with the massive maps of Battlefield 2042. So if you run it on a server, it is only available on PC, PS5 and Xbox Series and won't be available on Xbox One and PS4. Also, Rush and both Conquest modes can only be customized with the built-in modifiers that I'm explaining in this guide, while for Team Deathmatch and Free for All, there's also the extended rules editor available that I will be explaining in a separate video as you need some basic coding knowledge for it. After the game mode, you can choose the map rotation. Depending on the mode you selected, there are 3 map sizes available: small, medium and large. Note that not all maps and map sizes are available for all game modes. For Rush, only the 6 medium-sized Portal maps will be available, while for Conquest Large you only have access to the massive 2042 maps. For the normal Conquest mode you have the choice between all medium and large-sized maps, and if you want to create a Team Deathmatch or Free-for-all game, you will have access to all maps and sizes. Just grab the map you want and drag it over to the map rotation or click the plus symbol. Once the maps are in the rotation, you can also change their order or remove them with the minus icon. Be aware that even if you can choose different sized maps within your map rotation, you will always have the same amount of players on the map, so you need to adjust it to a value that fits all sizes. You can do that in the next tab, Game Mode Details, alongside the settings for game time, squad spawn and so on. Maximum human players is a bit misleading as it's actually the maximum numbers of players allowed on the server, no matter if it is human players or AI. The AI and soldier settings can be done later. The maximum number of players can be set to 128 for all modes and maps, but everything above 64 players won't be available on the old consoles anymore. So if you want to, you could set up a 128-player team deathmatch on Noshar Canals. By unlinking team distribution, you can change the balance of the teams and set one team to only 10 players and the other one to 54, for example. Linking it again will even out the numbers. With game time, you can set a value between 10 and 60 minutes to define how long a game will be before it ends, even though the tickets are not depleted. This option will not be available for Team Deathmatch and Free-for-all. Squad spawn type can be set to all to allow players to spawn on either of their squad mates. Set to squad mates on leader, leader none allows players to only spawn on their squad leader but not on any other squad member, while the squad leader can only spawn at the base or on an objective. And with squad mates on leader, leader all, squad mates can only spawn on the leader, but the squad leader can spawn on all other squad mates. If set to disabled, players are not allowed to spawn on their squad mates at all. With per squad character limit, you set the limit of unique classes or specialists within one squad. So if set to 4, a squad can have 4 of the same classes or specialists. That means there could be 4 medics or 4 snipers within one squad. If set down to 1, there can be only 1 specialist or class type within a squad. Reinforcements removed per kill defines the number of tickets that is removed from the enemy ticket counter for each kill your team performs. It can be set up to 5, which makes kills very valuable and would mean that kills remove even more tickets from the enemy team than playing the objective does. Reinforcement multiplier sets the total number of tickets available. Set to 1, each team will start with 1000 tickets on Conquest, for example. Set to 0.5, the teams will start with only 500 tickets and so on. The number of tickets differs between the game modes, but 1 is always the default multiplier, and the lower it is, the less tickets are available, and the higher the multiplier is, the more tickets are available. Note that these last 2 settings are not available for Team Deathmatch and Free-for-all as well. Next up are the modifiers with which you define gameplay, soldier, vehicle and AI options. In gameplay settings, you can turn on friendly fire if that's necessary for the experience you want. Projectile speed multiplier sets the speed of the bullets, which means if there is a moving target, for example, you don't have to aim ahead of it that much with a higher projectile speed. The global damage multiplier is the overall damage that vehicles and soldiers take and how high it is. This is interesting for hardcore modes where you want to have a much faster time to kill than usual. 1 is the default value for a TTK similar to Battlefield 2042, but the higher the value, the faster the time to kill. With extreme weather effects, you can turn on in-game events like the sandstorm or the tornado, but these are only available on maps that support this option, which are the Battlefield 2042 maps. On the classic maps, there won't be any weather effects. Classic soldier weapon tuning sets the time to kill for the classic factions and weapons. In case you might want to experience the original time to kill of these games, you need to turn it on. If you turn it off, all weapons will be adjusted to the time to kill of Battlefield 2042. Then you can turn off stationary weapons and adjust headshot damage and body shot multipliers, which is the same as for the global damage. The higher the value, the faster the time to kill, and definitely interesting for hardcore modes. With the next 2 options, you can turn off the aim assist for console and controller players and also define what soldiers will drop when killed. Either their weapon and ammo, so both can be picked up by teammates or enemies, only ammo or nothing. Note that all of these options and a lot of the following options can be made as a metric, so if you want to give one faction an advantage or disadvantage, you can do that as well. On the soldier tab, you can define many settings from man down type to sprint or slide. Man down type means how your soldier is behaving when downed. On crawl, you can still crawl to safety and get revived before bleeding out, just like you know it from Battle Royale games or Hazard Zone. On downed, you stay downed but have the chance to get revived by a teammate just like it is in All Out War. And on instant death, there is no bleed out or revive, just an instant return to the spawn menu. Then you can turn off prone, strafe while sprinting and sprint in general, set the fall damage multiplier to a higher or lower value and also the soldier movement speed. This option also defines the movement speed while aiming down sight or shooting, so it slows down or speeds up AD movement as well. Next up, you can turn off the ability to aim down sights and also turn off automatic health regeneration for soldiers. If you enable it, you can set the multiplier for the regeneration rate and also the maximum health of the soldiers in general. Soldier redeploy delay defines how long you will have to wait until you can respawn. Set to a lower value means you can respawn faster, and the higher the value, the more time you have to wait. And then you can also turn off the new traversal sprint that is, when turned on, available for all matches even if you use a Battlefield 1942 setting. And at the end, you can turn off the ability to slide and the squad revive, which means that only medics or the two specialists Maria and Constantine can revive others. At the Vehicle tab, you can set the global options for tanks, helis and other vehicles. Spawn delay is the same as for the soldiers. It defines how much time you have to wait until a new vehicle is available. At Combat Vehicle Spawn Type, you have different options of how you can get into a vehicle. Determined by Game Mode sets combat vehicles to spawn on the map only for Rush, and for all other game modes you can spawn vehicles through the Deploy menu. If you don't want combat vehicles at all, you can also turn it off here. On foot call-ins only means that you can only deploy vehicles with a new call-in tablet of Battlefield 2042, but with the difference that it works for all eras. So if you want to create a Battlefield 1942 experience with soldiers calling in vehicles from a tablet, you can go for it. With deploy menu only, you can only get vehicles in the spawn screen and they don't spawn on the map, and you can also not call them in with the tablet. But you can also combine both or only let them spawn on the map for every mode. Vehicle health regeneration can be turned off completely, so the only chance you have to repair your vehicle is by doing it yourself or rely on a teammate with a repair tool. Health multiplier and regenerate is the same as for the soldier, and you can also define if soldiers are even able to exit a vehicle. If this is turned off, you have to stay in the vehicle until it is destroyed and you die, and there's no chance of an emergency exit. In the User Interface tab, you have control over the compass, minimap and HUD, and you can also turn the new plus system off, with which you are able to modify your weapons while on the map. You can also turn off ally identification, which means that your teammates won't have a blue dot above their heads, so again an option for hardcore modes. And you can set the ping system to either ping targets, which is the new situational spotting that was introduced with Battlefield 5 and where you can't spot single soldiers but only locations, or you enable the old 3D spotting that was available in the older Battlefield games, where you can spot enemies and they are marked with a red dot above their heads and also appear on the minimap of your teammates. But of course you can also turn it off if you don't want it at all. For the AI modifiers, it looks more than it actually is. PvE AI count sets the number of AIs that are permanently available on the map, no matter how many human players are in the match. It can only be set to a value lower than the maximum player count that you defined earlier. So if you set it to the maximum value, there will only be AI soldiers on the map with only one slot left for a human player. At AI type, you can activate AI soldiers and set them to PvE or PvP. PvP AI means that your match is filled up with AI soldiers as long as there are not enough human players on the server. But each player that joins replaces an AI soldier. PvE AIs won't get replaced. This is an option for players that want to play alone or in co-op against AI. You can also unlink this and fill only one team with AI soldiers and the other one with human players. Then you can set the AI difficulty. I didn't test how exactly the AI behaves on each difficulty, but you're good to go with default when you just want to use it as a placeholder for your server. When you actively want to play against AI only, you might set it to intermediate or advanced for a bigger challenge. But you can also fill a server with beginner bots and earn kills and points for XP to unlock weapons, rank up your overall level or unlock battle pass tiers without having to play against human players. Cause each game you play in Portal mode also counts to your earned XP, just like any game you play in All Out War or Hazard Zone. With the checkmark at AI synced modifiers, you set all AI adjustments to the same values as the soldier settings you made before. If you don't want this, you can uncheck the box and will then be able to set the same options as you have available at the Soldiers tab. Next up are the restrictions, where you choose the teams and define the settings for classes, weapons, vehicles, attachments and so on. On the Teams tab, you can choose the factions you want to play with in your mode. When set to map default, you will only have access to the factions available in the area of the map. That means if your map rotation contains maps of 1942, Battlefield 3 and 2042 for example, you will only have World War II soldiers on the 1942 map, Battlefield 3 teams on the Battlefield 3 map, and on the 2042 map you will only have access to the specialists of 2042. So with each match, the factions would change. If you only want a specific faction or two specific factions to fight against each other, no matter which maps you have in your rotation, you can also choose them separately here. If you decide to go with map default, you can't do any more adjustments to weapons or vehicles and your creation can now be finished and saved. When you go with specific factions, the next thing you can define are the available classes. If you choose the same faction for both sides, you can unlock the sides with the chain symbol and define the classes or specialists separately for each side and also the countries, at least for the classic titles. Note that not all specialists of Battlefield 2042 are unlocked right from the start, so you can't limit your factions only to the unlockable specialists. You always have to provide at least one unlocked specialist. The ones that need to be unlocked by playing the game are marked with a lock symbol. On the Weapons tab, you can enable or disable different weapons or weapon classes for your game, and in case you're looking for a weapon that was bound to a specific class in the original title, you can use the filter in the middle to show them. If you disable all weapons, your soldiers will only be equipped with melee weapons. And just like the specialists, not all weapons of Battlefield 2042 are unlocked for new players. So again, you can't limit your game only to unlockable weapons, you always have to provide an unlocked beginner weapon as well. The weapons that need to be unlocked by playing the game are marked with a lock symbol as well. The weapons and gadgets of the classic Battlefield games are all unlocked by default. At the attachments menu, you can enable or disable different attachments like ammo types, underbarrel launchers or sights, just like you did with the weapons. The more weapons you have enabled in your game, the more attachments will be shown here. Same on the vehicle tab. Here's where you can also deactivate all vehicles, no matter if it is transport or combat vehicles. If you want to create an infantry-only experience, just remove all the check marks from the vehicle groups. And on gadgets, you can set the available equipment for your soldiers. If you don't want people to play with missile launchers or claymores, for example, just disable them here. When you're finished setting up your experience, you can give it a name and a description and save it to your account. It will then also receive automatic tags for players to search for, such as asymmetric if you gave one of your teams a different setting than the other one, or PvP AI if your server is filled up with AI soldiers in case there are not enough human players, and so on. As a player, you can actively search for creations with the tags you like. You will also receive a share code with your setup game that you can send to friends so they can run your game on a server as well. With a share code, no one will be able to edit your creation except for you. But if you want someone to edit it or want to give your template to anyone else so they can add their own ideas, you can simply share the editor URL of the web hub. This won't change anything on your own created game, but your friends are able to duplicate or copy your work. Note that your creation is not running yet. You will have to fire it up on a server so others can find and play it. To do this, get into the game and start the portal mode. Then switch to the host tab. Over there you can find all your created games ready to be hosted. Choose one and click host. Then give your server a name and description. Unfortunately, it doesn't simply copy the ones from your created game. You can also set a welcome message and a password in case you only want to share your server with friends or you set up an event or competition. Then click host server and the server will automatically start. Your created experiences will always stay in your account and you can change or take a look at them in the main menu of the web hub. But your servers will only remain online as long as there are active players on it. So if it dies, you will have to start it again. If you make any changes to your game settings, they will get active the next time you start creation on a server. You can't make any changes to a running game. But even if your servers get shut down or you manually shut it down, you can simply start it again in the host tab. Your server name and description will always stay available. Once a server is running, you also have access to basic admin tools and can receive feedback to your game from other players. You can access the admin tools with the pause menu and will be able to use the commands broadcast message, kick player, ban player, unban player, restart map, next map and take down server. When banning a player from one of your servers, they will be permanently banned from all of your servers, also the ones you will set up in the future. If you want to allow them to join servers again, you need to unban them. If you kick a player, they will only be removed for the moment and can join again at any time. And last but not least, some words on how to use the portal mode in-game. On the first tab, you see all the featured modes that were selected and highlighted by the developers. On Browse, you can search for community creations and join them. When you select a server and click More, you can get more info on the map rotation and the changes that have been made to the experience. But you can also follow this creator, host this experience, or even report it if you made the experience that the host or the server or anything that is going on the server violates the community guidelines. On the Host tab, you can find your own creations as already mentioned, experience templates created by the developers, and also the option where you can insert the aforementioned share codes for creations of other players. And Collections is the place where you can set up your portal loadout for all eras so you don't have to do it during the game. Note that if you do changes to your Battlefield 2042 loadouts, it will change across all modes and not only for Portal. And that's it for today. I hope this video helps you to get into Battlefield Portal and create your first own experiences. If it did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more content like this. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.